Hi guys! In today's video, we're going to be learning how to use a class notebook in order to give feedback to our class. Now to do this, we're going to need to do the following 5 things. Firstly, we're going to need to learn how to establish a team on Microsoft Teams. Next, we'll be looking at how to set up a class notebook through Microsoft Teams. Next, we'll be looking at ways to instruct our class on how to post work to the notebook once it's set up. Next, we'll be examining ways of providing feedback to our learners through the class notebook, and that'll be both in written form and in audio form. Lastly, we'll be looking at the class notebook through the OneNote app that's behind using the OneNote app. So, to start off with, we have to understand how to set up a team. So if we go to Microsoft 365, we'll be presented with this view here, and we simply go to Teams. Now when this opens, it will present you with a view of all the teams that are currently available to you. As we're wanting to create a new team, we go up to the top right corner here where it says Join or Create a Team. We then click Create Team, and we're going to establish this as a class. And as this is just a demo, I'm going to give it a fake name. Now, once the team has been created, the first thing that will be asked is to add learners or add students. So I can add learners from my class by typing in each of their names here and then clicking Add. Similarly, if there are any other members of staff which I would like to give teacher access to, I can click on the Teachers tab and then type in the names of any colleagues before clicking Add there. As this is just a demonstration, I'm going to skip this step for now. So we've created the team here. Now, teams are fantastic places for communication with learners. They're a useful place for work to be administered. You can post files, you can give assignments to your class, and there's even the option by clicking the plus sign here to add other functionality such as forms, for example, where you can create quizzes for your class. Now, as a point of personal preference here, I always like to add some other channels. So for my teams, I always go to these 3 dots here and I add a couple of extra channels. I always add a channel for literacy, a channel for maths, and a channel for other curricular areas, as well as possibly a social area for any classes where that won't present any issues. For now, I'm going to skip this step. So that is how we establish a team on Microsoft Teams. Next, we're going to examine how we can set up a notebook for our class. So the notebook is only available on the general channel here. So if you've set up any specific literacy or maths channels, you won't be able to get a separate class notebook for that. To set up a class notebook, we look at the tabs at the top here, and we can see there, that's the tab for the class notebook. Now by clicking Set Up OneNote Class Notebook, we then get the option to start a new blank notebook. This view tells us the things that will be available to us. So we will get a collaboration space, we'll get a content library where you can publish course materials for our learners to see. And then most importantly, in my opinion, you get the student notebooks, which is their own private section where they can upload work and then we as teachers can see it and give feedback. Now when we click Next here, we'll then be given the opportunity to customize the different sections that each of our students will have. So they will have their own student section, which is under their own name. Then we can have several customizable sections underneath that. Now, I have these corresponding to the different channels that I have. So I have one for literacy, I have another one for maths, and then lastly, I have one for other curricular areas. Now, when I click Create, any learners that I have added to the team will then have each of these sections made available to them on the class notebook, and they would be able to post work to any of these sections at their own discretion. Similarly, any learners that I then subsequently add to the team will also be given their own section in the class notebook. So that is how we set up a class notebook on Teams. Next, we're going to examine how we can instruct our class on how to post to the class notebook. So for this, I've gone to my own personal class team, and we can see at the top here, I can go to the class notebook. Now, when you go to the class notebook in a browser, the first thing you'll be presented with is the welcome screen. And a lot of learners, when they first come across this, they don't know where to post their work because they're not seeing their name come up. It's really important to tell them that in order to see their own individualized sections, they need to click on this arrow here to open the navigation panel. When they do that, they will see the collaboration space, the content library, and their own individual area where they can post work. By clicking on a name, they'll then get the drop-down options of the different sections which we created earlier, so literacy, maths, and other curricular areas. Now, I'm going to assume the role of a learner here. So pretend that I'm a learner. I'm going to click on the learner's name. And let's say that I want to post some of my literacy work as a learner. I'm going to click on the literacy section. Now, at the moment, we just have a blank, untitled page. I always tell my learners to set the page title as whatever week they're posting the work in. So currently, it is week 8 of lockdown. You could just do week beginning. Now, if I want to post some work as a learner, I can do it through several different methods. I could click Insert, and then I can add it as a file by inserting it as an attachment. If I've taken a picture of my work and have it stored somewhere, I can click Pictures, and then I could do it from the camera, from an online source, or from a file on my computer. There's similar options if you're doing this through a tablet or a mobile device. However, if you're doing this on a computer like I am, I find by far the easiest way to do it is simply to drag and drop. So I have some work here, and by highlighting it and then dragging and dropping it into the browser view, the work should be added. And straight away there, we can see that the learner has successfully posted the work in this case. Now, sometimes there may be sync issues that occur. Often this can be resolved by clicking the Reload tab here. So sometimes I've had pupils where it seems like their work hasn't uploaded, or occasionally I've given feedback and the learner hasn't seen it because our accounts are somehow out of sync. By clicking the Reload tab, that usually updates it to the most recent version of the notebook. So we now know how to instruct our class on how to post to the notebook. Next, the most important thing here is how we can provide feedback to our learners through the class notebook. Now, this is probably actually the easiest part of this video. We're going to look at 2 ways of doing that. Firstly, we can provide feedback in written form. So if I click anywhere on the class notebook, sometimes double click, you can see it creates a text box. And in that text box, I can type any comments relevant to the work. So in this case, I'm going to type a bit of feedback that is highly specific, meaningful, and helpful. Best feedback that I've given anyone in minutes. However, another really useful way of giving feedback is to give it as an audio file. Now, you could record an audio file on your computer using a voice recorder and then drag and drop that file into the class notebook, just like we did earlier when we uploaded work. However, there is also an audio recorder built into Class Notebook. So by going to Insert and then clicking Audio, it will then automatically start recording audio onto the Class Notebook. Now, this is fantastic for kids with additional support needs that maybe have difficulty interpreting feedback in written form. So I strongly encourage that in those cases. So that's it. Giving feedback really is that easy. Last but by no means least, we're going to have a quick look at the OneNote app and examine some of the benefits of the app version over and above the browser version, which I've been using up until this point. So if I open the app here, which I've already got downloaded, you can see that it opens fairly similarly in that it gives me a welcome page. However, there are a couple of key differences. So a lot of the information is actually given along the top here. So I have the collaboration space, I have the content library, and then I have some of my learners' names along the top. And by clicking this tab here, I'll be given the rest of my class down the side here. Now, one of the problems with the browser version is that if a learner uploads work, there's no way of us being automatically notified at the moment. So that means we may have to trawl through lots of learners' notebooks in the hope that we stumble across something that they've updated in the last while. This problem is solved in the app version, as anytime a learner uploads work, their name automatically comes up bold to let us know that changes have been made. Now, this is really helpful as it means that we can identify when a learner has made changes, and similarly, they also get notified if they're using the app in the same way if we've posted any comments. So personally, I much prefer using the app version just for this. It saves us going down a lot of dead ends. So that's really it, guys. I hope that you're feeling a little bit more confident in implementing this in your practice. Good luck. I'd encourage you to give it a shot. And I hope that this really increases the impact of our digital learning and teaching over the coming weeks. Cheers, guys.